Imagine receiving a phone call from your colleague who tells you she is running late from oversleeping and will be in shortly. And shortly never came, as she went missing shortly after that call and was never seen or heard from again. That's what happened to Jody Sue Heisentrut in the early morning of June 27th, 1995. This is her story. Jody Heisentrut was born June 5th, 1968, and raised in Long Prairie, Minnesota. She excelled at golf in high school and won the state Class A tournament, along with her team in 1985 and 1986. After high school, she enrolled at St. Cloud State University, where she studied mass communications and speech communication. She graduated in 1990 with her bachelor's degree in communications. She began her broadcasting career with CBS affiliate KGAN in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as the station's bureau chief, then returned to Minnesota for a job at ABC affiliate KSX in Alexandria, later returning to Iowa for her position at CBS morning show Daybreak that aired at 6 a.m. Her routine was to arrive at the station around 3:30 in the morning. In the early morning hours of Tuesday, June 27th, 1995, she called her colleague to say she was running late. At 7:13 a.m., Mason City Police received a phone call from Jody's employer, KIMT, requesting a welfare check when she did not report to work. When the police arrived at her apartment complex, they discovered Jody's belongings scattered around her car, a red 1991 Mazda Miata, which she had just purchased a few weeks prior. They found one of Jody's high-heeled red shoe next to her car, also her car keys and hairdryer. Police reported that there was apparently a struggle and marks which appeared as someone being dragged. Police also reported recovering an unidentified palm print from her vehicle. Neighbors reported hearing screams, and one reported seeing a white Ford Econoline idling in the parking lot at about the same time. Investigators searched Jody's apartment and work area in search of any clues. A man named John Vansis showed up at the crime scene. The nearly 50-year-old was good friends with Heisentrut and often went boating with her and her friends. He claimed he was the last to see Heisentrut when she came over to watch a birthday video at his house the night before. He became a person of interest and has remained one until this day. Private investigators, which were hired by her parents, stated that he is unlikely a suspect, as Jody had only nice things to say about him, and no red flags were shown, which they read from her journal. A few days after Jody vanished, Mason City Police held a press conference, announcing they were looking for a mid-1980s white Ford Econoline van. That was reported being in the parking lot early in the morning. The Mason City Fire Department searched the Winnebago River that ran behind Jody Heisentrut's apartment complex, but there was no sign of Jody. In September 1995, the Heisentrut family hired private investigators from McCarthy and Associates Investigative Services, Inc. in Minneapolis, who in turn enlisted the assistance of Omaha, Nebraska, private investigator Doug Jassa. McCarthy and Jassa appeared on several national television shows, including America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. In November 1995, they and members of Heisentrut's family traveled to Los Angeles to meet with 3 prominent psychics. This meeting was televised and served as the pilot for the Psychic Detectives television show. Although each show generated several leads, none resulted in concrete evidence or identification of a suspect. In May 1996, approximately 100 volunteers searched an area of Cerro Gordo County and left flags to mark anything that appeared suspicious. Each of these sites was then re-examined by law enforcement, but no promising evidence was located. Police and private investigators have conducted more than 1,000 interviews, but none have resulted in conclusive evidence pointing to a suspect. Heisentrut was declared legally dead in May 2001. It's been 29 years since the disappearance, and the family still have many questions and believe that someday they will have answers. On the somber anniversary of her disappearance, her family, colleagues, and advocates made a plea. Don't forget Jody.
Thank you. I do remember Jody. She was a student at St. Cloud State. I think she was a senior when she came to our house to interview a little bit about Jacob's disappearance. And One of the first things I learned about missing children from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is kids are found because of all of you. They're found because somebody sees their picture on TV, they hear their story on the radio, they know and they see something suspicious and they call it in. And so I want to thank the Find Jodi people, but I also want to thank the media for caring, for keeping Jodi in your heart. That is what is going to get answers. We got answers after nearly 27 years because the story kept out there in the news, and also some of the other victims. Some victims came forward and they shared, well, this happened to me. Maybe this has. So if anybody out there has any kind of a lead, even if it feels small or insignificant or you're unsure, if you call that in, it might be a piece, the missing piece to a bigger puzzle. And if everybody calls in what they know and what they saw or what they think or what they fear, we'll have more pieces. So that's what anniversary dates are. It's about a chance to revisit and never forget this wonderful, sparkly, bright-eyed young woman who had her whole future in front of her.
An organization staffed by journalists and a former law enforcement investigator, volunteering their time and resources to bring attention to Heisentrut's case. That's why you'll see billboards in towns, why we organize this gathering each year.